First off, everybody, Happy New Year. Second thing, what are we doing today in today's video? Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to create elite tactics within FM24. There's a little secret to them, which you will quickly realize what it is once you guys see the tactics that I'm about to show you. But today, creating elite tactics in FM24. Let's get underway. So, when we are either new to the world of Football Manager or just wanting something fresh, we kind of rack our brains on, okay, how do I want to line my team up? How do I want to play? How do I want to progress up the field? How do I want to defend? And this is about to change your outlook on all of it. So I'm going to show you 3 different tactics here really quickly. So here's tactic number 1, here's tactic number 2, and of course, number 3, which this is actually one of my most recent tactics that I've released. What do all 3 of them have in common? All of them are asymmetric. Now, all right, you're probably wondering, especially those of you that are new to the world of Football Manager, what do you mean by asymmetric? Well, there is symmetry and asymmetry. This tactic right here is asymmetric. Now, all that we did was move Foden from playing as a second striker out to a wing, and now this is symmetric. It is perfect up and down. There's nothing out of order. Asymmetric tactics have players in different positions to cover more space. Such as this one right here. This is an asymmetric style of how Manchester City play. You can tell that by looking at the player roles, which we will get into in a moment, because I'm going to break it down how you can play like Manchester City, but play asymmetric. So instead of having this as a normal 4-2-3-1, as this is a asymmetric 4-2-3-1, even though up here it says 4-1-1-4, you can clearly tell, all right, well, there's 4, 2, 3, and a 1. So we have, instead of De Bruyne being centrally, we move him to the right. Reason being, because we have a player right here like Bernardo Silva playing that box-to-box role, which allows him to go from box to box, which means that he'll be able to play up here like an attacking midfielder when we're towards the final third. You then want a player in the defensive areas to help out with your defense, and one of those players we currently have there, and that is Mr. Rodri. He is a ball-winning midfielder on support that will play as a defensive midfielder. So right there, it allows you to cover the attacking midfield, central midfield, and defensive midfield areas. Instead of only being able to pick 2, which it would most likely be like that, a slightly more attacking 4-2-3-1, where you only have 1 attacking midfielder and 2 central midfielders. You have 1 player in each area covering more space. And this is absolutely elite this year in FM24. Why is it elite? Because AI cannot handle it. You are so spread out and covering so much space that the AI constantly messes up. If you're playing an asymmetric tactic like this, or even an asymmetric tactic like this, which is a asymmetric 4-4-2 I made, you are going to dominate your opponent. And those of you looking at this like, that's not really a 4-4-2, that's a 4-4-1-1. Well, actually being that the advanced playmaker is on the attack duty, he is going to be up with Erling Haaland, which makes this tactic ridiculous. And for those of you that want to check that tactic out, I have an entire video on it linked down below in the description. But we're going to take it back to this original one right here. How are we going to create an elite tactic from this? Because I don't have player instructions on currently. You do see that I have some instructions over here for in possession, transition, and out of possession though. And due to having those instructions there and the player roles that I currently have on all these players, yes, I can put player instructions on these players, but I know that obviously they're Manchester City players that had a quality high enough to be able to perform at much higher levels than other players on other clubs. But with these roles, it is going to allow me to know exactly how it is going to build up, how it's going to play, and the instructions I have over here on the left side are going to help them perform even better. All right, so here we have one of my favorite tools that I like using when it comes to tactics and for my tactic videos. So we currently have the Liverpool players. Ignore that. Just imagine it's Man City players, for instance, okay? So this is how that 4-2-3-1 or the 4-1-1-4 asymmetric is currently lined up with FM. So we're going to break it down by the player roles and what it is going to allow these players to do. Because keep in mind, this is asymmetric, so they're kind of spaced out, trying to take up as much space as possible. Currently, this is not how it's going to look once you are building up in play. So how is it going to look up when you're building up in play? So Diaz is going to be that inverted winger along with Salah. They create a front three with Darwin Nunez. Szoboszlai is an advanced playmaker on attack. He's going to be right here. And McAllister, who is the box-to-box midfielder, will be up here, creating a 5 in attack. You will have Endo, who is the ball-winning midfielder. He will be right up around here. Mr. Robertson will be that inverted wingback on support. He'll be up here. And Konate is the libero on support, who will be up here, creating a 3-5. Then you have Van Dijk, who's a central defender, and Trent, who would be the inverted fullback on defend, which is that Kyle Walker role, because Trent would never do that in reality. So it is a 2-3-5 in build-up. Did that asymmetric 4-2-3-1 look like it would end up building like this? Absolutely not. Not from the face of things, at least. Because what you want to do is be able to master the art of deception within Football Manager. If you can master the art of deception, making your opponent think, oh, they're playing a 4-2-3-1, they're playing a 4-3-3, a 4-4-2, and it ends up building in something completely different, such as the 2-3-5, which Pep Guardiola has started to master, you are going to dominate your opponents. And I'll just do another quick example for you all so that you really get it. So here we have one of my tactics I just recently did in a video, Gormy's Asym Dr. Emery. This looks like an asymmetric 4-4-1-1 or an asymmetric 4-4-2. So here we have it now on the tactical board. You have that asymmetric 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1, however you want to look at it. How is it going to build up? Because once again, just like the previous one, it's not going to build up anything like you think it will. Because if you have a normal 4-4-2, it'll build up like a 4-4-2. You have a 4-2-3-1 that is generic, it'll build up like a 4-2-3-1. However, if you want to make your tactic elite and you make it asymmetric, it is going to throw your opponent for a loop. So Nunez is the advanced forward on attack. He stays up here. Szoboszlai will join him up around here. The wingers on attack both come up here and they like to cut inside a little bit. So maybe a little bit more like this. Yeah, McAllister, who is a Segundo Volante. Segundo Volantes like to arrive later in the attacking third. So he'll be around here, the ball-winning midfielder here. There's a 2-4 right there. However, Robertson is a winger, and so is Trent Alexander-Arnold, because although they are wingbacks on support, they operate like wingers when they are in the attack. So you currently have a 2-6. Then the central defenders come up and operate right here. So you have a 2-2-6 with 2 boxes that you can move the ball around and some triangles for some tiki-taka available to you also. So did that 4-4-2 or the 4-4-1-1 look anything like they would end up building like this? No, they did not. And your opponent would not expect that either. So building these tactics like this allow kinda to not only master the art of deception, but have the element of surprise. And both of those make tactics like these absolutely elite. And what's great about it, you saw the different formations that I was showing you. You can have something like this, something like this, something like that, or even something crazy and wonky like this. And they will still perform well to an elite level. And why will they perform to an elite level and be an elite tactic? Because they're asymmetric. So how do you go about creating the asymmetric tactics, making them elite? Well, there are certain roles that really help them perform to a whole other level. And I'm going to throw those on screen for you right now. For your strikers, you have advanced forwards on attack. You're pressing forwards either on support or the attack duty, or even complete forwards on support or attack duty. When it comes to wingers, you rock wingers on attack, inside forwards on attack, or inverted wingers on attack, or you can rock any of those on the support duty as well. When it comes to your attacking midfield area, you usually want to use an attacking midfielder or an advanced playmaker. Shadow strikers do work as well if you want a striker to be sitting a little bit deeper instead of playing a false 9. When it comes to the central midfield area, you will want to play a box-to-box midfielder, deep line playmakers, ball-winning midfielders, or central midfielders, and customize them to your liking. When it comes to the defensive midfield area, Ball-winning midfielders, deep line playmakers, and segundo volantes are your best bet. However, the regista is also pretty good as well. Another central midfield role that is pretty good if you aren't really utilizing wingers and you're playing two strikers more centrally will be the mezzala. And for your wide backs, your wing backs, or full backs, you will either want to use wing backs or inverted wing backs. Use complete wing backs, they are way too attacking, and if you use no nonsense full backs, they will not help you whatsoever, basically. So use wingbacks or inverted wingbacks. Those two are your best bets. Or if you're playing someone like a libero as a central defender, use an inverted fullback on defend as well. If you want to keep a 3 in the back type system when you are building up. And when it comes to those central defenders, ballpoint defenders, central defenders, and liberos are your best bet. And when it comes to your goalkeeper, do whatever floats their boat, what they are most comfortable with, although I do suggest sweep keeper on defend or support. And now that I've gone over that, we now look at this tactic. You see every single one of those roles within this tactic right now. However, there is one role that is the most important out of all these in my opinion, and that is a ball-winning midfielder on support. They are your rock between your defense and your attack. See the ball, get the ball, win the ball, move it off. That is their job, and they are very good at doing it. So within these elite tactics, when you are doing asymmetric tactics or just tactics in general, I highly suggest you use a ball-winning midfielder. It'll make your life a whole lot easier. Because even in one of my most recent tactics, I have that ball-winning midfielder on support who makes my life a whole lot easier. So when it comes to mentality-wise, or the instructions here on the left side, how do you want to instruct your team to play? Well, this tactic right here that you see on the screen, the Asym Dr. Emery, I tested with Aston Villa as well as Bournemouth. It is played on an attacking mentality. Bournemouth is supposed to finish in 17th in the Premier League. And this tactic on attacking mentality, and it's asymmetric, making it elite, it helped them finish top 6 and win a Carabao Cup, which no one would think that Bournemouth could do, but asymmetric football helped them do it, along with the attacking mentality. Balanced mentality gives you best of both worlds. You get attacking, you get defending, but you don't get one over the other. You go positive, it's the more safe route of attacking, but if you really want to succeed and help your team overperform, which they will play in this style of football and you just kind of got to build into it, you go with the attacking mentality. Now, when it comes to in possession, we are currently looking at my Asym Dr. Emery one. It utilizes wingbacks on both sides. So what are we going to have them do? Being that they're wingbacks, we want them to operate like wingers since we have those two wingers out here cutting inside once I get towards that final third. We're going to have them overlap, which creates that front 6. You do that, it really helps utilize them to their full extent. However, we see here that 4-1-1-4 or that Asym 4-2-3-1 with the Man City group. How do I have it with them? Well, we have an inverted wing back on support on the left side. We don't want him overlapping, we want him underlapping. When he underlaps, he will come in to midfield. Instead of staying out wide like a winger, he will come inside and operate like a midfielder. That is kind of what Liverpool do with Trent Alexander-Arnold. We have him cut inside, not overlap. Attacking with is always up to you, as is if you want to play out of defense or not. I do suggest if you are a better side and your defenders are able to move the ball out of the back, have good passing, good dribbling, good concentration, good decision making, definitely suggest playing out of defense. If you notice though that your defenders are making lots of mistakes while they are playing out of defense, just go ahead, tick that off. You'll still do plenty well, but if you are able to play out of defense, I do suggest doing so. When it comes to the final third, I suggest working the ball into the box. If you are a side that is very good at finishing, feel free to shoot on sight. Or if you're a side that kind of wants to whip the crosses in, which that is an option, whip crosses, it makes it harder for defenders to deal with those crosses. You can go ahead and hit early crosses. It'll allow you to cross from deeper, if that is something that you would like to do. When it comes to passing directness, you need to think how wide your side's going to be. So if you're going to be more narrow, you're going to want to pass shorter. If you're going to be wider, you are going to want to be more direct, because you don't want a chance of, oops, I passed it too short, the opponent's going to grab it and they're going to counter and score. You don't want that. So you're going to want to be more direct the wider you are. And when it comes to tempo, think of, okay, do I want to be more possessive? Do I want to be more gegenpressing? If you want to be more gegenpressing, instead of being slightly lower or lower for possession, you're going to go slightly higher or higher so that you're constantly on your opponent trying to win that ball back. However, if you're me, you go gegenpressing and possession at the same time, which will be a whole other video that I'll explain how to do. When it comes to in transition, counterpress and counter, I highly suggest using those. If you are a possessive style team, you can still counterpress. However, you will probably want to hold your shape because you don't want to get caught out. If you, though, want to regroup and then counter instead, you can do that as well. Because if you lose the ball, it allows you to get back in your shape, you win the ball back, and then you counter. And when you are distributing the ball, I highly suggest distributing to your fullbacks and center backs. If you are playing a kind of like an asymmetric system where you don't have wingbacks or fullbacks, and you're using wingers to operate those spaces instead, then probably distribute to flanks. Or you can distribute over the opposition if you want to try and really hit them on the counter and get those cheesy goals that the opposition, the AI especially, continuously gets on us in FM. But also keep in mind, there is the option here. It says distribute to area or player. You click on that, you have area/player or distribute to a position. You can select what position you want getting the ball. So if I want my left center back getting the ball and him being the one that progresses play, then we can do that. And for distribution type, I highly suggest either leaving it off because your goalkeeper's not going to listen to you no matter what, or you roll the ball out, and they will roll it out more often than not. And once you are out of possession of the ball, you want to have a high press and a high defensive line. If you aren't playing a pressing style, if you're not playing gegenpressing, I still suggest going with a high press line of engagement so that you are higher up the pitch. Or if you're playing a mid-block, you still have that higher defensive line because you want your team to kind of be not necessarily compact, but within shouting distance. We'll use that as the term of each other so that you are able to progress up as a team, not get caught out and have too many people forward or not enough people back. When it comes to trigger press, it all depends. If you're going gegenpressing, obviously much more often or more often. You can leave it on slightly more often if you want to take the safe route. And if you're going possessive, slightly more often is probably the highest I would have it. Unless you are like me, you can do gegenpressing and possessive at the same time. In that case, you can leave it here or here. And if you are going gegenpressing, prevent short goalkeeper distribution is something that definitely does help. It's not game breaking, but it does help you. Now, there is something that is a little secret that I mentioned earlier that allows your tactics to be at the elite of the elite and really hard to stop. I told a buddy about this last year. He dominated the drafting landscape once he started implementing this, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. So, you see right here, the pressing trap. Notice how I don't have either trap inside or outside ticked on. And there's a reason why. We're going to take a look at the opposition instructions here. So, here we are at the OI screen. Opposition instructions are your best friend. You need to know how to utilize them though. See here how we're playing a 4-4-2. If you're playing a side that utilizes width, which basically every tactic utilizes width in some way, shape, or form, you're going to either have wingers or wing backs. This is how you force the opposition to make loads of mistakes. So, here we are with a 4-4-2. Like I said, we are going to trigger press and show on to the weaker foot with both the left back and right back. If you're playing a 5 in the back system, then playing against a 5 in the back system, that is, you're still going to do the same thing. Close down with trigger press and show on to the weaker foot for those wing backs, full backs, whatever they may be. If the side is utilizing wingers like a 4-4-2, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, or 3-4-3, or anyone in the back with a 5 in the back, which we have already covered, you are going to do the same thing with trigger press and show on to the weaker foot. Now, you're probably wondering, why do I do this? That takes away all creativity from the wide players. If you are pressing them, that causes them to panic and need to move the ball. And if you are showing them on to their weaker foot, they are going to make even more mistakes because they're using the weaker foot. Majority of the time, if it's a right back, they're one-footed. If it's a left back, they're one-footed. Wingers are usually one-footed unless they are absolute demigods and great with both feet. So you do that, it takes away the creativity and it forces them to move the ball to the inside. Now, once they are starting to move the ball into the inside, there are going to be two players that come into play, which a majority of the time it'll either be an attacking midfielder if it's a 4-2-3-1, or in this case, with two strikers, both strikers become viable options for them to move the ball to. If the striker is someone like Erling Haaland, you're going to tight mark them, trigger press, and weaker foot. You are going to take away another option for them to move the ball because strikers aren't always the greatest playmakers unless there's someone like Harry Kane. Harry Kane's always been good at playmaking, but if it's someone like Erling Haaland and you force him onto his weaker foot, you're tightly marking him, trigger pressing him, making him panic, they're going to cough the ball up as well. If it's not someone like Erling Haaland, though, you're going to do just like you do to the wingers and wingbacks, trigger press and show onto the weaker foot. You do that, they have no options creativity-wise, and that forces the ball to the inside, which then takes us back to this screen here for out of possession, and that is when you trap to the inside. Or you could even trap them to the outside and force mistakes constantly to the outside. But if you are trapping them to the inside, you are suffocating your opposition because you've taken away all creativity outside. They no longer have much creativity inside, and they might get one shot off all game on you. So I hope this helped you learn how to create those elite level tactics, which that secret that I was talking about earlier is asymmetric. Not so much a secret anymore, is there? Since it is now out there in the world to all of you. Asymmetric systems are absolutely fantastic, very overpowered, whether it is in offline saves, in the drafting community, whatever it may be. Asymmetric tactics are very, very good. If you did enjoy today's video, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribing is 100% free, so why not hit that sub button? Also hit that notification bell so you guys get notified when I post videos here on YouTube, which I'll be having videos kind of like this coming out for possession, gegenpress, and how I play, which is both of them with both styles combined. I'll be having those videos coming out fairly soon, I'd say. But also on screen right now, I'll be linking the tactics I have made so far this year in FM24, so why not check those out? And on the other side of the screen, I'll be having a series that I'm currently doing in FM24, which follows the career of a manager that only plays asymmetric football. We're following him all the way to the tippy top. So if that is something that you'd like to check out, feel free to do so. They're on screen right now. And until next time, everybody, have a good one. Bye-bye.